Okay, in this hydraulic torque wrench system, we're basically going to separate this into three parts. I went over the pump just a minute ago, so step two of this equation is going to be your hoses. Now, there's a few concerns here that I want to go over with you guys to make sure that this is used properly. This system is set up to run a single hose. You can have a 50-foot hose, a 150-foot hose, or the standard 15-foot hose. What you can't do is run two hoses. The way that this is set up and the way that the couplers are mounted on each end of this hose and the way that the couplers are onto the pump itself, you can only hook it up one way. It only hooks up correctly. But by adding another hose in the equation, at the end of the second hose, now your couplers are backwards. And that's going to cause your tool to leak or function improperly. You can have one hose or three hoses or five hoses, but you cannot have an even number of hoses or it won't function correctly. Now, the hose itself has a 4-to-1 safety factor on it. It's burst rated to 40,000 psi. The most you're ever going to use it at is 10,000 psi. But let's not step away from the fact that a 10,000 psi pinhole stream of fluid can enter and hurt the human body. What I want you to do is, before you get to using this, you need to fully inspect the hoses for cracks, for dents, for kinks. If you can see steel braiding in the line in any place, you need to throw the hose away and get a new one. Don't take the chance of using the weakest part of the system knowing that it's damaged in some way. This hose generally is right in front of your face. It's laying across your body. Your hands are all over it. If there's a problem with the hose, you need to get a different hose. On the end of this hose, you're going to see these black cases. These are called safety burst guards. It's kind of like putting a rag or a towel over a winch line when you're using it. Is this plastic piece going to save you? No, but it's going to divert oil if it were to come from within the inside of this. It's going to divert it out before it comes out into you. Right behind here, is where the hose is crimped to the fitting. That is a weak point of the hose. A lot of times I'll go into a plant and I'll see people that they want to keep their couplers from getting dirty, so they take these ends and they pry them apart and they screw them together. You absolutely do not want to do that because it puts added pressure on the weakest part of that hose is right underneath here. So the way that these are set up with these couplers, there's a check ball in each one of them. So when I go to hook this up, in order for it to hook up correctly, the check ball has to be seated properly in the female coupler on the bottom side. So we'll go and hook that up. The male coupler on the top here, and we're going to put it in. Now, if while using this system, if it comes loose even that far, that check ball opens up and it will shut off the flow to the hose. 9 times out of 10, the biggest problem that people have with a hydraulic torque wrench system is that these couplers come loose. I don't need you to take channel locks or pliers and tighten them up. They should be able to be hand done and put together, but that's a safety check valve in there, or check ball in there, and if it comes loose, it's going to stop. I'll get calls all the time from somebody saying they were torquing up and everything was going just fine, and all of a sudden the wrench just quit working. Or if they're using it and all of a sudden the wrench starts leaking. That's what's going to happen. One of those two things. Either it will quit functioning or it will start leaking, but it's doing that on purpose to let you know that a coupler has come loose. So make sure that your couplers are seated correctly and they're tight all the way up. My safety burst guards are on. I have one hose in line, and the second part of this, the other end of this hose is going to hook directly up to your hydraulic torque wrench itself.